As always, if you have been enjoying the series up to this point, do be sure to smash a like on the video. That would be magnificently helpful. Thanks very much in advance. So, a new dawn in the save. After our 5 seasons in Denmark, Kalle found it was the right time to leave and move on for his next job, which of course, as we talked about in the last video, will be a job in Finland. But before we get into anything on that side of things, I wanted to do sort of a quick recap of what's actually happened in this save so far for people that might be joining this save fresh right now, because now is a very good jumping on point. So firstly, thank you to those people as well for checking this out. Hopefully you'll stick around for a bit and well, let's see what we can do. So our first point of call was at Uxalt in the Swedish 4th tier, I believe it was. A couple of seasons there, some solid success, but nothing fantastic. Kept them up in the first season, stabilized things in the second year, but then used that to get our coaching badges and find a way to move on to the next club which turned out to be KV of Iceland. They're actually a second tier affiliate side of one of the larger sides in Iceland, something we didn't realize until we'd actually joined the club, which meant that we were unable to get promoted from the second tier with them. We did manage to finish 3rd in the first season and 4th in the second season, and only narrowly missed out on finding what would happen if we were to actually finish in one of those promotion spots. But we managed to again get some more coaching badges, and we were able to parlay that into a much bigger move to boost our career. It was at that point that we managed to find ourselves a way to Degerfors in Sweden. They were a second tier side at the time, and it appears they are once again. They were one of the favourites to be promoted, and we did exactly that, coming second, our first ever promotion in the save. It was a happy time, and we managed to parlay that straight into a 4th place finish in the Allsvenskan for the following season, which allowed us to qualify for Europe, which was far and away beyond anything I would have expected. Unfortunately, once Europe was out the way, the club eventually slumped down to 12th place in the league, and we felt it was the right time to leave at that point. Although I think it might have even been slightly before that we actually decided to bide our time and move on to our next big challenge, and that's where the fun really began. As we took over at Tromso, and I have only just noticed this, they've built a stadium and named it after me. That is incredible. I did not see that. I've not looked on Tromso's profile for ages. They literally built a stadium and named it after. We're trying to keep a low profile here, lads. What are you doing? And from that, you can tell that our time there was actually relatively emphatically good. In our first half season, we ended up coming 12th, but then following that, we really did pick things up a little, getting them 6th the next season. Then it was a title battle really for the next 3 or 4 seasons before finally winning our first title in 2034. In addition, we managed to win the Europa Conference League with them the previous season to that, and also during our second sort of half of the following season, we were actually able to win the Europa League with Tromso as well. So 2 different European titles. I'm now starting to understand why they felt the need to name the stadium afterwards. What I would say is that they have won 4 league titles since then, although despite that seem to be falling off a little bit in the last couple of seasons. So the club and the squad we built clearly has developed into something quite special, and I think that was really where the specialness really began in this save, honestly. And it was then that we chose to move to Denmark, to SecondYellowCard. A side had never won, as far as I can tell, the top flight in Denmark, and you can see that they have of course won a title now. Now it's actually 2 titles, because we are of course a year later. They've managed to win back-to-back league titles now with the new manager Alan Schmidt in charge, which is really nice to see indeed. So big up them. We also managed to win the Europa League with them as well, and then finally of course in the last season of the save we managed to win the league title for the first time with a relatively high points tally. Not the first one of the save or the highest one of the save by any means, but still a very good record for us. So that is now a Danish and a Norwegian title, and that's why our next move is to head to Finland and try to win something there. And HJK are not going to be easy to overthrow, but I do think with the right tactics and player signings straight off the bat, we can actually get a side up to second in that league probably fairly quickly, depending on who we get a chance to take over. I've not looked at any jobs or anything like that, and that's really the fun part of these job hunt videos. But before we get into that, I just wanted to quickly show you something, because SecondYellowCard might well have done one of the smartest things I've seen an AI club do, and this is very rare. So you'll remember, or some of you will, that a couple of episodes ago I gave Sifalele Madon Sailor a new contract, upping his release clause from I think 9 million to something like 11 million pounds. In the previous year, they must have given him a new contract in there and managed to remove that release clause, and oh boy howdy has it paid off, because they have shipped out nearly 50 million pounds worth of players. Less about that the better. They also bought a guy from Tromso who Tromso got on a 3, but that's not the point. It's the fact is they managed to sell Sifalele Madon Sailor to Dortmund for 29.5 million, rising to 35 million. The only way they could have done that would have been if they got rid of that release clause. So what a sale for SecondYellowCard to get nearly 35 million pounds for a player. That's surely got to be a Danish record. Absolute scenes. And with that money, they're probably going to set themselves up to start to dominate Denmark in the coming season. So very impressed that an AI club actually had the forethought to do that. Particularly as when I tried to give them a new contract at any point, they would never take out release clauses. But hey, I guess Alan is just a better man than me. So of course we are a year removed from where we left, just to give things a chance to sort of simmer down and see what can happen in the meantime. In addition, I didn't want to go 15 months because of course the Finland season runs across the summer, so we're now slap bang in the middle of the Finnish season. And now let's go take a little look at the Veikkausliiga and see how things are going. Oh, would you look at that? HJK are top. They've won 7 out of 9 matches so far. It's still fairly early days in Finland. I can't actually remember how many games their seasons are. It was actually only a 27-game season, so that's interesting and worthy of note. They're actually only a third of the way through that season currently. But it is especially worth noting that Cups, or KUP, I know I just call them Cups for fun sometimes, are bottom of the league. These guys are a regular top-of-the-table challenger in Finland, usually, and have been for the last few seasons, I think. Actually, no, they were 9th there, then 3rd. So they went from Europe to 9th to bottom. That don't be boding well. Just to catch you up on some of the other rules of the save. We were originally saying that we couldn't manage a side who'd ever won the top flight in their nation. That then, at some points, could have really narrowed down the playing pool to the point where it would be difficult to find a job. So we then changed it to 20 years, and I've now basically extended that to the course of this save, because that's just slightly over 20 years. So just to catch you up on who we can actually get a job with in Finland at the moment. Basically, HJK, obviously off the table. Interturku, also off the table. Hilariously, KUPS as well, and also SJK, the other SJK. So yeah, you can see that the top 2 in Finland actually has been somewhat hegemonic lately. HJK and SJK for the last sort of 7 or 8 years have dominated the top 2 places, and it seems like everyone else has kind of squabbled over 3rd spot. But what that does lead me to believe is that one of these sides could be perfectly positioned for the one that we could take over, be it Lahti, be it Honka, be it Ekines, be it Interturku, or TPS Turku as well. I believe they're both Turku-based sides. And in the current top flight, well, I mean, you can see it's unlikely to be someone like TPS or Honka or Interturku because, of course, they're all up there towards the top. However, Lahti, slightly further down there maybe, could be an interesting one to take over perhaps. But, of course, we have to wait for jobs to come along. And that's where things start to get a little bit more interesting because we can't just put ourselves in charge. We have to find a job. And that means a manager has to get sacked. It kind of sucks, actually, that Cups have won 1 title in the last 20 years because they would be an absolutely perfect one to try and take over and rebuild at this point, wouldn't they, really? Just looking at these sides in the top flight, obviously you've got your regular sides in here, but one thing I'm not noticing, or rather would not expect to see, is Grankula. Finnish football fans, this is a surprise, right? I mean, these lads were 3rd tier in Finland only 6 years ago and won promotion last season to the top flight. So it feels to me like they're a regular sort of 2nd to 3rd tier yo-yo side, Grankula, but now they're in the top flight, possibly what could be for the first time in their entire history. And insanely, they came 4th last season. Oh, that's intriguing. Clubs like that intrigue the hell out of me. So, I guess the next best thing would be to actually look if there are any jobs available. Now, with there only being 12 teams in the top flight in Finland, we might not even get a job this season. I suspect that someone's going to get sacked. But I don't think it's going to be immediately because we are only 9 games in. But let's have a look at the job centre. I'm obviously going to need some help with pronunciations, Finnish friend. They're not going to be anywhere near as okay as some of my other pronunciations from this region, unfortunately, because Finnish names are a difficult one for me. So bear that in mind. But KUPS's job is available. But of course we can't because that one bloody title that they've got in there, which is cheeky of them. But I still think there's going to be other jobs coming up. So we're just going to progress, see what goes on in Finland, and hopefully a tasty little job will come up. That Grankula one though. Oh, something about that, I just really love the challenge of potentially taking a team like Grankula, who have only been 2 seasons in the top flight in their history, it would seem. Maybe they had some more history beyond that, and actually maybe making them into something a little bit special. That would be quite a fun one to take over, particularly with what's going on. But of course, there is less infrastructure there, and it would be quite a Goliath of a challenge. But, you know, we'll see what jobs come available. This menu, of course, is going to be, if anything, more important to us because it will allow us to keep track of the stability of a lot of the jobs that we're potentially looking at. And you can see here that, obviously, lots of them are currently stable, but I suspect a lot of that could change as the season wears on. I'm looking at you, most of these guys. And I should say the reason that I always aim to try to get our job during the middle of a season rather than during the summer period or winter period, depending on what league you're talking about, is because I always like the fact that you can usually have like a good 6 months of kind of freedom without any real expectations to just get to know the team rather than having to jump into a full season full of expectations. I feel like it's a really nice period that you can have, and it's a lot easier in terms of building a team, so you can actually do prep for those transfer winners rather than jumping in the middle. Finally, a little bit of movement is happening. Emil Rihilati's job has just jumped from stable, from what I could tell, to very insecure in the Veikkausliiga. And that, I mean, obviously there's the Ilves job is sort of hovering around that point as well, as they are bottom of the league currently. But this one for me is, if anything, more interesting because FC Lahti are not a bad side by any means, I would say. Prediction of 3rd. These are the kind of clubs I really like. Those underperforming giants. I say giants, respectively so, in the league. And they've got decent value. They're expected to be 3rd. It shows that there's actually a squad there, in theory, that you could, generally speaking, have something happen with. When you look at their recent history in the league, I mean, they literally came 3rd last season. They were 3rd, of course, there as well. Obviously, spent some time in the 2nd tier during this save too. But generally speaking, over the last few seasons, they've been a solid-ish side, although they have had a few little skirts with relegation themselves as well. And of course, actually no top flight titles ever for FC Lahti, so that actually meet the original requirements of the save. And in terms of the way the league's going for them right now, they are, you know, scraping at the moment. Incredibly, Grankula ahead of them again. but they would be an interesting side if that job were to become available, because it's that the Grand Cooler job is showing no signs of becoming available, and I suspect that even if they were to get relegated or looking close to it, it probably wouldn't do, just because their board would probably be quite happy with the success they've had. So as much as I would love to take over someone like Grand Cooler, like, put it this way, if the Grand Cooler job actually came up, that's the job I'd be like on, just because I love the story there. But if that's not something we can deal with, a club like FC Lahti would be absolutely perfect for what we want to do with this save, to be honest with you. So there is definitely that on the cards. I would love them to start losing a couple more matches just so that we could sneak in there, because there's only 12 matches left this season now. So if you could sack him soon, that'd be lovely. Well, this is a big day. Ignoring the fact that I think the World Cup's just finished. Portugal, by the way, won the World Cup, and obviously every national team in the world wants us at the moment. That's a side issue, of course. We're not doing national team saves. Yeah. All three, I mean, Kepa, obviously not a top flight side, but both Ilves and FC Lahti sacked their managers. So at least we finally get to do some interviews and some fun stuff right now, and might actually be able to have a job. Now, of these two, massively I would prefer FC Lahti, of the two, just because they suit what we're trying to do at the moment. But obviously I want to do both interviews because that's part of the fun. Let me just turn down all these poor FAs. In case you're wondering briefly about the World Cup, yeah, Portugal beat Brazil in the final on penalties, having knocked out Spain, and Brazil had Ghana in the semi-finals. I wonder if Terry Clotey played in that team. You can bet your ass on it. Terry Clotey just led his Ghana side to a World Cup semi-final. Big up, Terry. But, and this is the key, David Brown is the favourite for both of them. He's obviously given up doing business wars and has now decided to become a manager in Finland. Who are you, David? Oddly, he's the current TPS manager. It seems odd that he would join one of these two sides, honestly, but there you go. He was a player at Niston during the save. Actually played for FC Lahti as well, and HJK, but you know, no one's perfect. You might also notice over the course of this segment of the save, I probably will be taking the piss out of HJK a lot. It's just a meme. It's fine. We move. We've applied for both. We'll hopefully get some interviews with them. That'd be really, really nice. Now, one slight problem is that usually before we are expected to leave a job, I do a load of work building up our media handling again, and rather than delegating to my assistant, because it does sometimes matter in job interviews. I forgot to do that when we were finishing off the season at Sinjska, so our media handling is basically nope. No. Media? What's a media? Well. FC Lahti jump in at the gun here. Nothing from Ilves so far, so that's interesting. They're the first side to cut. It's taken them 4 days still, but that's good. They've actually invited us for a job interview. And honestly, what we would do is, if we were to be offered this job, I would obviously do the 2-week delay to see if anything else came up that was interesting to us, but they are certainly suiting what we want to be doing right now for me. Even better is that they have a historic rivalry with HJK. I mean, it's like this is like written in the stars, my friends. Great to be here. Let's get cracking. They've also dropped into the relegation places at the moment, so that's noteworthy. Why are you interested in dropping down? I'm a man of the people, Gear. I want to help. I'm also on the run, but I can't tell you that. I've won 3 European trophies in this save. Are you really going to look at that gift horse and go, sorry, bruv, not for me? Handling of the media. There you go. There's the media thing. This is why. I'm going to promise to improve it. We're willing to do it. Ensure us you do a better job of meeting expectations than your predecessors did. Oh. Hang on, my potential predecessor? Potential predecessor? What does that even mean? I assume it's supposed to be phrased from the point that I'm the potential, ergo he would be my predecessor. But it's weird because it makes it sound like they were going to like hire someone else in the past and he's my Are they interviewing people from the past? Take charge straight away? Absolutely. Get me in there. We've only got 11 games left. You're going to need me. So they want to develop players, under 23, standard stuff, work within wage budget. They're not judging this season, which is the key. End of current season. Are they in Europe? No wonder they're so bloody distracted. You're in Europe? Okay, wasn't expecting that. No expectations for you to fulfill the current season. Expectations and budget will be set at the end of next year. That's absolutely fine. You know what? You're being a bit shady, bud. Maybe there's dodgy money coming around after all. I mean, okay, side note. But that's fine. Lovely. Let's see if Ilves come in for us as well. But that looked like it went pretty well. I'm going to do the interview in the press as well. We've attended an interview for the vacant FC Lahti job. Hang on. Why is that positive? Why is that a positive response? It's nothing to it, bruv. I couldn't care less about this nonsense. It has nothing to do with me. Positively. For obligated, I'm just considering my... What do I click here? Why is there not an option saying, yes, I did go for the job. I would quite like the job. Please give me the job. Additional comments. Oh, hang on. Why is that negative? Hang on. I've got a plan. We're going to hit not for the time being. And I'm adding, give me the job. Please. XOXO. Silence from Forsberg. I think it's just different in Finland. Do they have a different definition of silence? An acceptable fit. Don't know if I like that. We are the favourites, though, for the FC Lahti job. Now, 1-4. Put forward our vision. I love his shirts. Very nice. Very Norwich City. Never previously managed in this country. Again, 3 European titles. Long absence. It's been a year. Can you explain your long absence from being good? We are now the favourites for both of these jobs. No other jobs in Finland despite the fact that EFK Mariam are losing hand over fist at the moment, are looking even vaguely likely to come up in the meantime. But still, obviously, if we get offered jobs, we will delay. I mean, how is the league actually looking at the moment? Lahti are now bottom of the league. Right then, you have 10 games to save your asses. Admittedly, they are literally 1 win away from 8th, so it's not the end of the world. Oh, okay. Straight on in there. Wait, hang on. £500,000 transfer budget. This is looking pretty tasty as an option. Obviously, we'll do the standard thing where we delay, but at the moment, unless something magical comes up in the next 2 weeks, I think of the two, I would rather take FC Lahti. They're actually bottom of the league, so it's probably an even... I say it's a bigger challenge. I actually don't think it is, just because I think their squad is probably stronger, but we don't know that because I never look at the squads until we join the clubs. It's part of the mystery of this horrendous Nordic roulette. Ilves are in as well. I mean, the difference between the two is absolutely stark. It's the same wage, but £1,000 transfer budget and less than half their wage budget. In addition... it's the sign players to sell for a profit thing. I think that might be okay in terms of it's more about you signing players, but also the fact that that's there and it's required also suggests to me that they might sack us if we don't, and also they might be the type of club that are just going to sell all your players out from underneath you no matter if we do get anyone good, so it might be difficult to build. So at the moment I'll still delay it because at the end of the day, if we're going to take over at Lahti, I want to at least piss off Ilves, so it's one less team that I've got a manager for 2 weeks. Playing 7D chess here. Things have actually got slightly worse for FC Lahti in the meantime. Part of me thinks we maybe should just take this job soon. Lahti are back in again. So, usually I would do the 2 weeks. Well, we've done one of the 2 weeks wait now, but I'm honestly worried that if we go another week, there's a strong chance, particularly with them playing FC Honka next, that they could find themselves in even deeper trouble. And if we have any chance of actually keeping these guys up, it would probably behoove us to take over this job as quickly as we can at this point. That's one of the things when we're winning a lot of stuff like we have recently. It's nice to go into a relegation battle and try our hand at the other side of things for a little bit, because I think this squad is good enough to the point where if we could keep them up, I think we could go straight away top half next season and just try and build from there. If they've got the 3rd best squad allegedly in the league, they should not be bottom. But look what KUPS have done. They were bottom of the league at the start of this video, and they're already up to 5th and potentially could go even higher in the remaining matches this season. So there's definitely room to grow if you get over the right side. So with that in mind, I think we're actually going to take the decision to become the manager of FC Lahti. I particularly enjoy a caramel latte, so hopefully they've got those on tap. Here we go. This is going to be a very interesting ride. Welcome to FC Lahti. Let's go and have a little look around the squad. The youth team, plans for the rest of the season. This is always one of my favourite parts, is getting to see what the squad is actually like and then looking at the youth players to see if there's any absolute bangers in there. So join me if you will. Lahti hire Forsberg. Youth intake... oh god, players currently unhappy. That's what you love to see, isn't it? Players in the last year of their contract. Let me guess, is it all of them? Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's just have a look at the youth intake preview first, shall we? Oh, well, hello, big dollop. But that being said, it's only got 2 A-rated players in and it's 5-star. I had a youth intake at my last club that was 5-star rated, had 6 different sections of A players with 9 players included, and we got nobody in it. So this is irrelevant, but it's still nice to see that there might be someone in that, particularly as they're fullbacks and defensive midfielders. Both positions we don't use, but that's fine. Let's just sort by ability. Okay. So Ronnie Engström, please be a striker. He's not though, is he? He's definitely not. If anything, I think he's a central defender, which actually is not too bad if he's actually good. Let's just take a look at Ronnie Engström. 6'3", no heading ability, which does kind of suck, but holy goodness, he is very good. Danish central defender, came through at Esbjerg. Ronnie Engström, he is extremely good for this level. 4-star, 5-star in this team at 22. Oh, he's very decent. Actually, before we do anything else, before we look at the squad at all, let's just check the budget situation. Well, all right then. We've actually got £5,000 in wage budget available and a £500,000 transfer budget. This team actually, we could actually build something relatively quickly here with that. See what our squad value, what are our wages like? Oh, this is extraordinary. We have £5,000 in wage budget available at the moment, and the highest paid player is on £1,200 a week. That is brilliant. We could actually do something with this. I'm super excited now. You're another centre-back, potentially now. You're 5... oh, no, he's 6'5". Oh, the back line here. Valon Zikiri, Albanian international defender. This is pretty solid. Again, hasn't got the best heading. Neither is his composure all that good, but not as a fullback. Let's just move him here. Things you love to see. So 2 of our back 3 are pretty much already sorted, and it's nice to see that defenses are so important, particularly trying to keep a team up. So if we can actually have a really strong defense straight off the bat, I think this could really help us, but we do need players up the pitch. Next up is Gabriel Ayew, a Ghanaian. They got him from Hearts of Oak. They've been using my scouting method. Lovely news. This is decent, actually. This is a really good squad by the looks of things. And Gabriel Ayew is certainly no exception to that. Physical's not fantastic, but like clearly there is a quality player here. He has been here long enough as well that I suspect he would count as homegrown too. I love a player that can play in any of these positions. Passing and vision. Look at that. False. He's the deep lying forward. he is Christopher Carlson minus the height, but he could also play in the central midfield, the attacking midfield role. I love him. Then we've got Emmanuel Opong, who is another Ghanaian player. Oh, look at some of these guys. I mean, again, really good physicals. Another younger, wow, have they got like an affiliate agreement or something with a Ghanaian side? This is awesome though. Eduardo Fortuna, another Albanian, and he's a centre-back, 6'1". So our back three, really, of the two Albanians and Engström, is looking like a really strong set of players for us. So exciting to see what those guys could do. Could even play a bit of wing back, but I don't know if I'd really want that. He's not the quickest. Their squad is really young as well. Like, I'm seeing a lot of youngsters in this team with decent talent for what I can tell. Seydou Bafo. It's another Ghanaian. We have no Ghanaian affiliate sides. That's incredible. I'm loving it. Of course, he unfortunately is also a winger, which is a bit of a shame. However, oh, he's got a left foot. Left wing back, though. Can cross and dribble. Tackling isn't fantastic, obviously, but we've also got a young Finnish player. This is Anssi Hämäläinen, was actually at Chesterfield, ironically. Came through at Chesterfield. He is probably more of a wing back, although he can't cross to save his life. But I wouldn't fancy playing him as a centre-back, honestly. At least he can do the defensive side of things. But yeah, he would need to work on his crossing and dribbling. But he's still very young. Love that. Boateng. Okay, there we go. Ibrahim Boateng, our goalkeeper. One thing this does tell me, though, is that Finnish sides have the capability to sign players from African nations and not have any trouble with like them not wanting to come, which is going to be really useful. It makes me think that actually we could do a bit of scouting down there and use the method on purely African nations and maybe try and find some more like these guys, because there's clearly lots of quality players out there. So it's still a very strong looking side, but I think there's definitely some holes in it, most notably strike force. That looks a bit thin, and honestly central midfield looks a bit thin as well. But let's see what the youth team's like. Okay, so there's some good-ish looking players in there. We've got Erkka Järvinen Pulkkinen, who is, what even is he? It says pressing forward, but the man has no work rate. Fairly ambitious personality. He's just one of those players that low consistency, not that I'm overly bothered by that. He's not spectacular. What about the reserves? Oh, please don't tell me you're on loan. Why are you on loan? Who are you on loan to? Okay, you are actually a winger, so again, there's a lot of that, it would seem. He's on loan at, I'm guessing, a lower division side. But it appears that they've got decent enough youth facilities to bring through some solid players. Also, this chap here, Jonathan Wakaso, who's on loan at Hearts of Oak. Advanced playmaker. No passing ability, though. Am I overly convinced that this squad is perfect for us? Absolutely not, but they never are. One thing I would say, though, is I feel like there's a strong defense and goalkeeper in this team, and the rest of it can come with time. I feel more confident about our ability to scout certain nations as well, which is very useful. The finances at the club are not fantastic at the moment. They have 600 grand in the bank, but at least the wage budget situation is really stable right now. Now, what's this about Europe? Oh, good. We have to play we have a game against Feyenoord in 2 days. Also, we've not won a league game since April. They started off okay for them, and then it just went absolutely downhill. They've won one match since April. Luckily, the board's expectation was to reach this round of qualifying. We're going to get absolutely destroyed by Feyenoord. But, oh my days, wait, surely there's more games left than that, right? What? So there's a relegation group with 5 games, and you play each of them once. So that actually could benefit us potentially, but it also gives huge chances for goal swing. But then beyond that, there's all sorts of like European places playoffs. There's the PR playoff, which involves the second tier, because I think the second tier the top side gets promoted. The other 3 go into a playoff system where 2 of them go to the quarterfinals, 1 of the semis. It's quite complicated. It's probably not that complicated, honestly. I'm just stupid. So what about the rules? This is kind of important, I suspect. Match squad must have no more than 3 non-EU players. Have you seen our match squad? How does that work? 9 players trained by a club in Finland. Must be 4 players trained by a club in Finland in the playing 11 as well. Okay, that's going to be interesting. So no more than 3 non-EU players. Is this one of these situations where certain nations don't count as non-EU? Yep, that's what I suspected. Okay. So, all European Free Trade Association standard. African, Caribbean, and Pacific Group nation states. Which ones are those? So, Cameroon would be sick. Ghana, Ivory Coast. Please tell me Senegal are in there. Yes. Right then. Okay, well, we know where we're doing some of our scouting then. All nations in Caribbean and Oceania. And Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia. Nations treated as EU. Most of them. Now, our scouting range is a little bit funky, but it appears that we have good knowledge of Ghana. So, what I would potentially want to do in the next big scouting window anyway, is to use the scouting method that we use, but concentrate it on some specific nations in some of those African nations, because the potential for quality players there is so abundant. And the beautiful thing about those players being counted as EU is it means you don't have to worry about homegrown status, and I think that's really kind of key. Obviously, you do to an extent, because you need to have 9 players trained in Finland. I assume that's the same kind of rules as most of the other nations with the, 18 and under kind of situation, but still, it does leave a little bit more room for wiggles, which is nice. It looks bleak right now, but I suspect it's just a bit of a fixer-upper. It's one of those houses that you buy where all the windows are bashed in and the carpet's got cat piss on it. But luckily, we are carpet cleaning specialists. So, next up, of course, will be next episode, straight jumping in with the first game against Feyenoord, and probably a lot of the rest of this season. It's going to be a hell of a relegation battle in there while we plan ourselves out for, hopefully, a following season at this club. But we've still got to keep them up in the meantime. Tactically, I think we'll hopefully be okay. But this is not going to be an easy ride, I don't suspect. There's going to be a lot of tough matches to come. We've got 9 games to save these guys from relegation. I still think we can absolutely do that. I don't think we're going to do much in Europe, and I really do think there's a club here that we could build something to try and challenge HJK and SJK, who are actually doing a pretty good job this season. So if you have enjoyed this and you're looking forward to our time at FC Lahti, then do drop a comment. Drop a comment. You can drop a comment too. Drop a like. Subscribe if you're new. I stream on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Not this Saturday, though. And I'll see you guys next time for some more Nordic Nomads. Hold your gun. Capybara. Bye-bye.